So one little specific tip for you E-flat clarinet players, and that is measure 18 and 19. So I hope if you're playing E-flat clarinet, you know already that C sharp, the last note of 18 in the altissimo, we do not use the E-flat key. But D, the first note of 19, we do use the E-flat key. Now, having said that, it really depends on your horn. If your B, C sharp, D are well in tune with one another without the E-flat key, you don't need to use it at all. But on most clarinets, if you don't, this D fingering is flat. And you might think that that doesn't really matter, but we're in the key of D. It's like really, really important. So and you know, I can see from my tuner right here, I'm actually a little sharp on all of them, but as long as they're consistent, that's fine. Okay? So highly recommend C sharp, no E flat key, D, E flat key. Yes, this is a nagging little detail, but it's important. Good luck. Triplet quarter notes over 2 beats are usually guessed at. And usually people guess wrong. What ends up happening is the first 2 of the triplet quarter notes end up being too long, and the third one plays catch up. That's the way most people play triplet quarter notes. So we have to subdivide. Okay, here's 80 beats per minute. Just think about regular triplets. Those are triplet eighths. Okay. Now, to line up the triplet eighths with the triplet quarter notes, you need to put emphasis on every other triplet. And if you do that, your triplet quarter notes will be great. So when I'm teaching these etudes, I like to start with the assumption that everything is legato unless specified otherwise. And we do have accents that are pretty clearly designated in the piece, but I want to talk about measure 6 and measure 22, which are effectively the same measure. These are the only measures that have staccato at all, and that staccato is at the end of a tie. We're going to talk about that in a moment. The beginning of measure 6 and 22 both have the marcato marking on the first note of the measure. This is a combination of an accent and a staccato. So let's review what the other options are. So first, we could just have had a legato eighth note at the beginning of measure 6. Okay? And now, we could have had just a staccato eighth note at the beginning of measure 6. But this is a staccato plus an accent. Now, the staccato. The staccato dot on beat 4 is asking you to stop the reed with your tongue on beat 4. So if you are familiar with the stop staccato technique, this is going to be easier. So stop staccato sounds like this. I'm going to keep my wind dead steady and my tongue is creating the silence by stopping the reed. Throughout all of that, I was blowing non-stop. Okay? So in this case, that wouldn't be so bad. What's tricky is that we then have to continue tonguing 16th notes and accenting 16th note number 2. So this is probably worth some time playing slowly and really picky, careful. If you want to try to tie all those details together. So the composer has given you a lot of specific instructions about dynamics, okay? This is how we make the music expressive. Even though the composer has given us a lot of very specific dynamics, for example, in the beginning of the piece, I'm at a mezzo forte. In measure 3, I'm at a mezzo piano. So I'm really making sure that my beginning of measure 3 is softer than my start of the piece, which is mezzo forte. So even though there are a lot of instructions, you have a lot of choices to make about how you wish to employ those markings. And what I mean by that is you decide when there's a crescendo, how much you crescendo, and how quickly you crescendo. And in some respect, let's look at the second measure. I mean, it says forte at the beginning of the measure, but you might really feel like the dotted quarter note is more important than the first note of the measure. So you might that would sound good. Another option would be to take it literally and decide that the whole beats 1, 2, and 3 of the second measure are loud and equally loud. But really what I'm trying to suggest to you is that you need to figure out a way to make it sound like your own piece of music and not be afraid to do things that are slightly different than what's on the page. Try to find a creative way to make it yours. That will definitely be something that the judges usually enjoy. If you find a way to play it that's employing the rules they've given you, but you find a way to make it yours, you definitely are going to have a more convincing performance. Good luck.